Hey guys, it's Landon with RH, and in this video I'm going to show you how I have updated my basic source code project folder structure to work with a AI or deep learning coding tool. So that could be like Cursor or Augment. I like to use Windsurf. That's the tool I've been using. And so what's happened is the last 90 days is I've gotten better with Windsurf and vibe coding. I've realized that there's some key files that I want to include in my typical project template for source code that some files that just make it easier to vibe code in Windsurf. And so I'll explain those here in a minute. So there's some particular files that you want to have. And I've also developed some tools now specific to Python, some testing packages and a build tool. And I want to be able to access those locally because they're still being improved on a fairly regular basis as I use them. So they're not set up on PyPy yet. I think I will eventually get them on PyPy, but I want to be able to access them in my local projects. And so I'm going to show you how I've done that. So this just kind of this new project structure encapsulates some of the lessons I've learned just the last 90 days as I've learned to use Windsurf and vibe code. And this may evolve some more. This probably isn't done, but it felt like I've made enough changes now and I've learned enough that it would be good to kind of solidify my new knowledge in an updated folder file structure, and I wanted to do a video about that. So I've got 3 updated folders here. Not a ton has changed in bare bones, so that's the mostly the template I was using before with a couple small changes. So most of the changes I made in the new folder here, full. So I have what I call full no scaffold and full scaffold, which I'll explain in a minute. So let me go into the full scaffold project. That's the one I'm going to use most commonly. And we'll just work this from top to bottom. So I have a build folder. I've got a couple specific docs in the build folders. So this is like a narrative version of the requirements.txt file. So it explains what the dependencies are. And this is just a short tutorial or guide to help people that want to know how to build the software. Those are just in markdown format. And then I have a tools folder, so build tools, and that has, this is a standalone Python package called FSF. And what it is it's a GUI builder. It's a GUI build tool. So it pops up a tkinter window and allows you to browse for a configuration file and a build script, and then let you run the tool, the build, and gives you kind of the results. And that there's a little bit of tweaking you can do. You know, I typically tweak that a little bit for each project. So that's why it's not just a standalone tool, build tool. A lot of that you can do in the configuration file, but you know, there's other minor tweaks that I make. And so that's why it's here, build tools. So you can see it's just a regular Python package. I'm not sure if this will open. It might open up. We'll see if this will open up. Oh, you know what? That's the demo build. I forgot. That's the demo build. I forgot. So you can see it's got the little configuration file here, where you can, you tell it where the source directory is and the build script and the build directory and the name of the executable, the path to the icon. And then you can, in the GUI, you can tell it, do you want it to package the source or not? So that's under build tools. That's my Python build tool. I whipped that up because I was used to using Apache Ant in Java. Apache Ant was a very complicated tool, but it was handy, and so I wanted something similar in Python. So that's what's in build. I'd code Python. So if I'm coding in another language, those other folders will be here. So inside of the code Python folder, I have 3 subfolders. Main, that's where the main source code for the project goes. So you'd have your main package folders would be here, or modules would go in here. Local packages are dependencies that I'm bringing into the project that are not available yet on PyPy. So they're mostly my packages. So for example, this is a plugin framework, simple Python plugin framework with tkinter for desktop apps. So I have that in here, so ready to go. So I can just reference this in my project already. It's ready to go. Then I have main. So I talked about main. That's where the main source code goes. Then I have what's called the scaffold folder, really important. So this is code that isn't, it's not a traditional dependency where it's being used in the library to implement functionality that. So if it's in the local package folder, that's code that's being integrated into the programming. It's providing some key functionality to the project under development. The scaffolding is my utilities that I'm using during the development that wouldn't be part of like the distribution necessarily. And so I have that split up into code analysis and testing utilities. I don't have anything in the code analysis folder now, but I'm going to work on a code analysis tool in Python, open source, that just analyzes how tightly coupled your code is. So I've got some ideas for that. I haven't implemented it yet. But I do have a couple libraries. So in Matatio, Austin Dindy is it's a mocking library for tkinter. So it has a bunch of tkinter widget mocks in it because I got tired of rewriting those over and over again. And this is a desktop graphical user interface in tkinter that basically runs your unit tests and integration tests. And so I have these here. You can see it follows a similar kind of similar structure. I need to do a little bit of cleanup here, but so that's what's in testing utilities. So those might not necessarily be distributed in. So the packages that are in the scaffolding folder might not be included in like a lean distribution that's going to go to your typical user. So you're not going to need this, what's in here, if you're not running the tests and doing the other kind of development tasks. So if you're just going to download the library with pip, from PyPy and use it in your code, you're not going to need what's in here. So that's why I've separated it that way. Whereas the stuff in the local packages, that's going to be a dependency, right? So that'll need to these will have to get distributed with the main code library or executable to have the code work. All right, so in data, that's just going to be sample data. Now that I'm vibe coding more, testing is more important, and I'm generating a lot more sample data files, so that goes in data. It could also be sample data files for tutorials. Distribution, I've got 2 folders here. This is just a simple exe folder for just the exe. And then I have each version will get its own folder here. And then this is a full release. You might also have a lean. You might also have a lean or bare bones. So in full, the docs, the exes, the libraries. This is reports and sample data. This is the actual raw project structure itself. Could get zipped up and put in raw project. And then just the source code. So like if I'm doing a source code, what do they call it? A wheel. Python wheel for just the source code would go here. And this might get, I might play around with this a little bit. So that goes in dist. Then we have the docs folder. Okay, so this is important. This is important. So we have the change log, developer's guide, development roadmap, user's guide. That's pretty standard. I have 3 Windsurf specific folders here. I have my local rules file, okay, which I have a template locals rule file that gets tweaked for each project. I find it helpful to have Windsurf write down what our next 2 or 3 steps are going to be before I close out a coding session. Then when I reopen it, I can tell it, hey, check the next steps files and tell me what we need to work on next. And then Windsurf does a pretty good job of understanding a code base, but I'm going to start maintaining this architectural description. So this is going to have narrative descriptions of the code. I'm going to do some other videos about that. That will help Windsurf understand my code base and not do stupid stuff like break things and do recursive coding and that kind of stuff. So I've learned just through experience that these extra files make the coding in Windsurf more efficient. And then I've got a junk folder. So that's basically it. So the big changes are these 3 new folders in docs. The 3 new files, markdown files in docs that help Windsurf remember stuff. And then in the code folder, the split between main, local packages, and scaffold. And then finally, under the build folder, I now have a spot for build tools, and I've got this new folder for this build tool that I use. So it's a little more complicated structure. This is necessary because I'm trying to build actual, software products that get distributed to end users and other developers. It's not like it's just some Python script that I'm running, on my own computer. So it's a little more of a professional setup. Hopefully this helps you guys. I know I struggled a little bit to articulate what I'm trying to accomplish in this video. I'll probably do another video where I show you how I set up a project and how all these things actually work together, but I wanted to just at least give an introduction to the project library.